Hi, and welcome to the Route to CISO Bite-Sized podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rides, and in these bite-sized episodes, we'll be speaking to experienced cybersecurity hiring managers. We'll be asking their advice on how you can stand out from the crowd to make the career moves you desire. So, hey everybody, and welcome to a Route to CISO session live. I've come up to the Venetian. There's the ServiceNow conference going on right now up here, because my main man Yonesy is with me. Excited to see you again, brother.
Yeah, no, it's been a minute.
Lucky to
Thank you
be here
for having me now at the full-on Route to CISO podcast.
Here we are.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, and we never do the full sessions. We always do these little bite-sized ones, and I don't know where this is going to go. Maybe it'll be bite-sized, maybe it'll be full-on. I think at some point we do need to sit down and properly talk about your career and your background, because you've had, I'll say it right, very, very impressive career getting to where you've got to now. And so at some point we need to sit down and talk about that and talk about what you learned through that. But we won't do that one now, I think, because that's a sit down for an hour.
Yeah, we're gonna need time for that. I might run out of souls if we stay talking about that. The details of my life, like Dr. Evil said, are quite inconsequential, but it's everything else that happened to me that I think would be super exciting. I think my life in general was not that interesting, but the circumstances, I think, were quite fun.
I don't believe that, but we'll talk about that at some point when we're not standing up in the middle of a hotel and we're sitting down and got a bit more time. I think this is a great opportunity for us now. You're obviously over at Surf AI, and you want to tell everybody what you're doing right now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm the CISO at Surf AI. I've been here for about 6 months. And Surf AI, what we do is we take your entire cybersecurity program and we operationalize it using a context graph that knows about your environment. And then we take that information on what you know, the context of your environment, and have specialized agents to go execute on your cybersecurity program. And I think part of the conversation today, this is the last time I'll talk about Surf. I think we want to talk about what your audience wants to really hear about is what's next, right? Everybody, AI, I said last year, the two most popular letters in the English alphabet were A and I. We're almost halfway through 26. Still the two most popular letters. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
So a lot of the questions that I get asked specifically as we're helping organizations within their AI journey, since we're an Apply AI company, is what do we do next?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the questions that I'm getting a lot from our early adopters that are in place right now.
Yeah.
And if you asked me that question 6 months ago, I would say, well, thou shalt do AI. That's great. So I feel that cybersecurity, with all the headwinds and tailwinds that we're getting over the last month, we've got the Mythos situation, we've got the OpenAI attack, we've got the National Vulnerability Database that's no longer going to contextualize. So we've got all these things that are creating this space where cybersecurity needs to move faster than everything else, just from a defensive standpoint, from a hygiene standpoint. So at the same time, I feel, and I'm a little biased, and maybe you guys are as well, but I feel that the cybersecurity people, us, our community, our industry, are well positioned not only to implement and use and develop AI, but also, I think, to do the what's next. And I think the what's next is the real question right now, 6 months later, as people are having a little bit more time and have gotten the reps to be good at AI, what it means to help AI, right? Within their environments, and they're going through that journey. I always get, well, what happens when we free up a little bit more time? And I feel, again, bias, that cybersecurity people are positioned to help organizations with their core business process, whatever that is. If it's selling widgets, if it's servicing websites, whatever your business's core business process, it's not only good enough to augment it with AI, you have to change it.
Yeah.
Right? You have to transform it with AI. So I feel that cybersecurity folks are positioned to do that well. Why? Because when we defend, we have to cut across the organization.
Yeah, you're horizontal, right? You got to understand what's going on. You've got to build the relationships with all of the different departments. And I think there was some interesting information come out about the different departments that are really utilizing AI. I think legal is heavily using AI. They're one of the biggest users. Sales, obviously, heavily utilizing AI. But the fact that security cuts across everything and has to have some level of business knowledge across everything to do a great job, because the best security people have that. And through the Root CISO podcast, we talk about attributes, and the business knowledge is so important. You're absolutely right. That horizontal layer probably gives them a lot more visibility into different areas where you can take that next step. Have you seen anybody doing anything specific or anything particularly that you think, wow, that was impressive, or the fact that they're that far thinking about that?
Yeah, no, some of the companies that we work with, and some of the ones that we're hearing about, are building internally, but also looking at how to enhance it, right? So part of their enhancement is how can we use AI on the decisioning for the business in a secure fashion? Because you've got two things working for you. One is the understanding and getting the reps with AI,
Mm-hmm.
how to identify what your business processes do. But at the same time, you're also getting ready for the new level of attacks, for the new expediency in those attacks. So it's how do we get better at the things that we know how to do, but how do we transform those? So I think the companies that are doing it the best right now are taking, let's call it, must do critical aspects of their environments, whether it's marketing, whether it's cyber, whether it's their finance, etc. They're implementing AI there, but they're taking those learnings to say, hey, how do we do that for the rest of the organization? And using those early wins as examples. Because at the end of the day, context is context. Decision is decision. So you're using AI to understand your context to make better decisions based
Mm-hmm.
on your environment. The same methodology can work area by area, department by department. And it's then how do you marry that or pull that in all together to get you better context, which will lead to better decision making.
Right. Yeah, I think the thing I find interesting about all of this is we know it's going at the most incredible pace we've ever seen anything in my lifetime anyway,
I think
right?
the velocity is real.
Yeah.
It's almost like velocity in space, no friction, right?
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of how AI is moving.
Yeah.
Is the velocity is what is really catching people off guard.
Yeah.
We are further along than most of us thought for 6 months, a year ago, 2 years ago. So the velocity is kind of the key
Now,
operating model here.
yeah, and I'm wondering here, and probably our audience and the people that we know in our industry, if you think about the people that are really, the sort of people that most of us want to hire, right? Most of my clients want to hire, the sort of people that you want to hire, people that are passionate, people that are playing with this stuff in every spare moment they've got, right? They're probably the more accepting part of it. Well, I heard some interesting stats that were talking about that you've only got really 20% of the people. Now, this is not within security, I'll say that, but there's sort of 20% of the people that are really grabbing AI and seeing, right, how can I be more productive? How can I be, an even better individual at this? And we got 80% that are more scared that it's going to take their jobs, or, they're perhaps aren't grabbing the opportunities yet. Or that they've even think that it's passed them by, right? They've lost their opportunity already. Is there any sort of bits of advice you'd give to that 80%, which I don't know how many people are going to be in this podcast, like from that, maybe less so, but even if there's one or two and we can impact those people, is there anything you'd have to say to those?
Yeah, no, what I would say is there's no time like today for getting it done and making sure that you have that in what you do each and every day. So let's think about it from this perspective. You can spend time worrying, complaining, or you can go and do it. So guess what I recommend? Go do it. The sooner you do it, the earlier you get into it. Whichever aspect you'll discover along the way, it may change from what you're doing right now, but you'll have the reps. So you'll know how to swim, so to speak. So learn to swim with AI so that when the tide changes, your swimming skills will still be there.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Sometimes I've been playing around with it for a lot, but then I always speak to somebody else who's doing the next level of whatever it might be. Right? I've got one friend that's gone and spent $16,000 on their own AI setup, and it makes me feel like, whoa, I'm not there. And then the other week I was up here again to meet with some good friends of mine that are very experienced CISOs and tinkerers and people that are doing this sort of stuff every day. And I was speaking to them, and they were saying how they find it difficult to find the time to do this, and that they, although they're using it a lot of work, they're not using it in their spare time. They've not got the time to do that there. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. It made me feel a little bit better about myself, at least, because those are the people that you would expect to be really launching off in every spare moment they've got. And the fact that they don't feel like they're doing enough, and they're the sort of people that I really look up to, makes me feel like, okay, good. So at least I'm doing the best I can. At least I'm grabbing it, and I'm thinking about constantly, how can I utilize this? How can I be productive of it? What can I create? And I'm pushing the boundaries of what I know, watching videos and asking friends that are going a little bit further what they're doing to try and create some of the things that I think will help in our business and in our industry. So
Yeah, no, one recommendation that I have, which is very practical, the folks that I believe, are doing the best at this are the ones that are passionate about something. So each of us has an individual passion. So for that passion, use AI with that passion, right? One of the things that Chris noted today was I'm walking around with my guitar. Now I'm playing my guitar, so I use AI so I can get better at playing my guitar, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all about work.
Yeah.
You can use it in your daily life. And how to, it could be anywhere from playing your guitar to getting better at soccer, to get a better exercise, maybe even get a better fitness program.
Right. Yeah.
It's endless, right?
Yeah.
The possibilities and capabilities for dabbling with it are not just germane to your day-to-day job activity. So I think if we can integrate, which is, by the way, I'm doing this at home. So I got my wife, my daughter, my kids. I'm like, listen, just use it. Just use it in your day-to-day to enhance and enable you. And we're getting some pretty good results. I think the best one that my wife came up with was the schedule of events.
Nice.
For the Nunez familia. You know what I'm saying? Like, now we actually have a calendar that's updated, and it's updating everybody's calendar. She was able to vibe code that thing because I told her she could do it.
That's amazing.
So, it's what I mean. It's like, start getting involved, because the sooner you get on, let's call it the wave, catch the wave, the better it's going to be. And even as I said, sometimes you go down one path with a goal in mind, things change around you. But what you learn going towards that path, those reps are going to serve you when things shift.
Yeah.
And this is the time, and I can tell you, because I read this, I forget which magazine I read this on, but we are the first ones going through this transformational velocity that's AI that's happening right now, where we almost have to reinvent who we are. We can't go and ask someone else for advice.
Yep.
We have to create the advice.
Yep.
So it's hard for us to create the wisdom and advice and the right reps for what the playbooks look like if we don't get in it. So this is easily accessible, so anyone could use it.
Yeah.
And I find that to be the biggest gift of all, is that right now you can take, if you want some courses, Anthropic gives you them for free. OpenAI gives you MIT. There's so many resources for getting conversant in this technology.
Yeah.
So it's really up to your own limitation of time, learning, and capacity to actually go learn it. I've never seen this in my entire career, where you have so much access to compute, to information, and to people, humans that are creating communities to help.
Yeah.
So I find that, to me, that's really exciting. And I would say, try to diversify, make this more than just for work.
Yeah.
You need to bring it full circle around.
I love that,
you as
because
the human.
I sit there and think about, so I had a chat with John Yo, who I know you know really well as well, good guy. And he talked about finding time, and him and his wife had sat down and they bought a Mac Mini, and they were building stuff together, like couples time, right? And then, because I was saying, like, a lot of people, like, when do you do it? Like, it's so difficult to find the time. But it's replacing things like maybe couples that would go and game, right? Or maybe you're doing that instead. And I know for me personally, like, when I have downtime, when my daughter's gone to bed and my wife is watching her Kardashians or whatever she likes to watch and relax, which isn't really the stuff that I like to watch. Instead of like watching some terrible TV, I'm sitting there and I'm putting a couple of hours building little businesses, right? I'm an entrepreneur, and in my head, I have literally my phone, I have a list of different business ideas than just sit there and I'm so busy with Tyro, I don't have time to test them or do anything. Well, now I'm testing them. So I'm like, I'm able to sit down, create a website, create a contact form, right? And then the next step is work on a bit of marketing to start seeing if there's interest in some of these areas. And I'm working on stuff that I'm like, not only that is security and recruitment related, like, so some parts of it are different ideas around what Tyro Security can do as a business. And others are completely out there, things that I'm just passionate about, right? So I'm working on something around watches. We were talking about watches when we got here. We popped into a watch shop. We both love watches, as do a few people in our industry, horology. So I'm working on a little ideas, this idea I've had with that I've been sitting on and not doing anything with for a while, right? I'm working on other things. So all this stuff, and I'm
It's
so
amazing.
passionate. It's exciting about it.
It's exciting, and I think this is one of the thesis that I have is that over the last 30 or 40 years, we've become very robotic at
Yep.
what we do. I think AI gives us an opportunity to go back to being humans that are multifaceted,
Yeah.
that have multiple different fashions, and we can express them. AI can give us now the time back, the capability back to do multiple things. Like back in the day, we were multidimensional human beings. I always talk about, one of my heroes, Ben Franklin, but he was an attorney, an inventor. He was in public service. He was a writer. Like, he was so many things in a shorter lifespan than we have now. But they did so much, and I think we have with AI an opportunity to do much more because we have the capability of leveraging AI for the things that that it can be useful for, and us getting back to doing more of this, doing more human things, picking up the guitar, working on your orology project,
Yeah.
getting better at that quarter mile, getting faster at your marathon, fitness, helping, being outdoors. You can leverage it for so much, and I think if we do this right, it's not just doom and gloom and the machines will take over. No, we can get back to being multifaceted, multidimensional, fulfilled humans, which is what we don't have today. We have specialized, unidimensional, for the most part, humans.
Yeah.
And so I like to look at the glass. For me is always 3/4 full.
Yeah.
So that's, if I can help shape some of that, is to get to being more human, get back to being more human.
Yeah, I think that's the opportunity. I think it's funny, and maybe me and you are both very positive people. Maybe we need somebody that sees it a bit from the other side, right? We're going to be talking
We
this
should
way.
have kept Joe with us.
I've got a few people. Ira Wingler would be a great person. I was chatting to him the other day, and he would be a great person to have on
we
here
should
as
we
well.
should do a multi-fold podcast. I
We
think
should
that'd
do
be
like
good.
get it out, get a couple of camera angles set up or
That's
something.
right. Well,
But you are right. It is accessible. Like when you think about it, I was talking to somebody else and they were like, well, I pay $20 a month for whatever my, this streaming service that I only hardly ever use, or I can spend $20 a month on having limited OpenAI, ChatGPT, Gemini, right, or Claude, or of course, that's not going to get you to that agentic stuff, but it's going to get you partway. And it's amazing what you can do and learn through that. And so you're right; it is very approachable. There are places now. I'm hosting websites, I'm creating websites, I'm looking at HTML, and now I'm starting to see, okay, well, this is where I need to change something. And I'm like, that's not me, right? I'm a recruitment person. And the fact that I'm like learning to do this stuff makes me, I feel like I go to bed, I feel like I've achieved something. And then with your health and stuff like that, I've got a supplement stack now. Thank you, AI, for that. I've changed up some of the way that I keep fit and some of the exercises I do. Thank you, AI, for that. Right. I've changed up some of my diet, and I thought I ate pretty healthy anyway. But like running through goals and what I'm eating and the times I'm eating and stuff like, thank you, AI, for that. Right. So all of this sort of stuff you can bring the advice in and pull in the data and the other stuff that you're bringing and throw it through that and start looking at it. Now, it hallucinates, right? So hopefully I'm not poisoning myself with my supplement stacks, and I'm not tearing muscles and stuff. But it is an exciting time and a positive time where you can really be working on exciting things. So me and you are on the same page.
no, I like to say that the bar to excellence is lowered.
Right.
AI really gives you capabilities that you can be excellent.
Mm-hmm.
You can portray, develop excellence with a very low bar to entry, low cost as well. And we have to take advantage of that now
Yeah.
because we know in the future that bar is going to be raised higher,
Yeah.
a lot higher in the future. If history is any indicator, anytime an early technological change as we're going through right now, it's the bar is lowered. This is the lowest I've ever seen it, but I know that eventually it's going to be a higher bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
Now's
excellence.
the time to sort of get in and start playing with it. I've just done 3 like webinars and panels, talking to people in not only just the education sector, talking to students that are graduating, talking to college professors and faculty. So sort of people around that. And there's a lot of worry about where AI is going to impact those people. So thinking about workforce and entry level, let's talk a little bit about that. Where do you think this leaves them, and what can you see are their dangers and the opportunities?
No, I think the dangers are and the headwinds, as you mentioned, are what they are, right? The reality is now it's going to be a lot more difficult for entry level roles. I mean, we're seeing it across the board, so that's a reality. So this is where I believe that being a multifaceted human, and as you mentioned, that you can do more than just the one thing, is going to be important because then that's who the people are going to want to hire. You have the folks that have the experience, right? So have dabble in it, have demonstrable experience in the space, you're going to rise to the top.
Yeah.
And you know what? If that doesn't work out, then you can build something yourself. Like it's never been easier to be an entrepreneur, to
Yeah.
develop value based on something that you know there's a need and your passion. If you can marry a need to your passion and then put AI into it, you're going to create something marvelous. So
Yeah.
I think that it's the time, that generation, and I've got my middle guy, he's going to be a junior next year. I'm getting him prepared to, hey, the path may not be you go and work for this big corporation. The path may be that you build your own thing.
Yeah.
So start getting ready to be part of that. And as he has his internships, I'm telling him right now, really focus on not just what your internship's about, but how you can leverage AI to help the business, right? So if you're thinking along those lines,
Mhm.
you're going to create a pathway that will help you get through this. But I don't really have all the answers because it's happening as we speak.
Yeah.
But I seeing the headwinds, I think you have to be able to pivot faster as a human,
Yeah.
right? And know that you may have to do, the career, the future is not, it's going to look very different than what it looks right now. You may be doing 3 to 4 different jobs, right?
Yeah.
Based on the capability and the ability to scale. So the sooner I think we grasp that, the better things are going to be. Because I find that a lot of the folks that are not entering into the workforce are the ones that are being displaced. They're the ones that are going to have to figure this thing out right now. So entry level and displaced folks
Yeah.
have an opportunity to now own this situation to become these tactical, multifaceted human beings would be how I would approach it.
I totally agree with you, and I think when I talk to these webinars, and some of them are public, some of them are not. I'll I'll see what I can share, and I'll put links and stuff in this. But yeah, when we were talking about all of that, it's actually that the students and the faculty that teach the students to go that extra mile, to be grabbing AI and not to be sitting there worried about, is it going to take my job, but how can I use AI to make these skills that I have or these skills I'm building even stronger? How can I go into a company and provide more value because I'm utilizing the latest tools, because I can show you I'm doing this in my spare time. I'm doing this to make me an even better employee, or creating and seeing opportunities that they can take. But you're absolutely right. You got to grab that. You got to grab the opportunities you got. I feel like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're sitting back and you're scared and you don't want to do it and you think it's going to take your job, I think it's going to take your job, right? Because you're
You're
not doing
willing it
anything.
into the universe.
You
Right?
totally
You're
are, right?
willing it into the universe. So I think you got to look at the angle of look at the opportunities that I now have because of AI, and I could do more,
Yeah.
and I can be more. And I think that's the attitude, and that's the angle. The people that I know that are doing exactly that are succeeding. They're thriving.
Yeah.
They're not just succeeding; they are thriving because they're the ones that are moving forward. And even within their own organizations, they're the ones rising to the top, getting the new promotion because they're solving problems, right? Thinking around corners. And I think that's what AI can give you. And if you're at entry level, I think that right now, if I'm looking at two candidates and one's done all this AI work and it's coming to me like, hey, but as a matter of fact, I'm doing these 3 things. Are you okay with me doing these other 3 things on the side? Because I'm doing this type of community, or I make some bucks on the side doing this. Or like, this is what we're looking for. Can you help us do that internally? Because that's what people want right now.
Entrepreneurs, right?
Entrepreneurs inside.
Yeah,
Right?
entrepreneurs.
You're an entrepreneur inside an organization.
Yeah.
So I think that's here to stay, by the way. I don't think that goes away. It can't go away because Pandora's box has been opened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you're working, that's the other thing. If you're working, you want to be in security, you might be taking a role or an opportunity that's in a different area and moving internally, which we've been talking about for years. And I think a lot of the advice that we've given, over the years that I've had the business, a lot of it hasn't changed, right? This is going to be more important than ever to go out, to meet people, to build your network, to make relationships, because you can create the best resume ever. You can use AI to do that. You can take the job description. It can look perfect. But let me tell you, there's hundreds of other people doing it. Some of them are automating their applications so they get them in quickly and first. That doesn't mean you're going to get picked out of the pile. Phil, if anything, companies now are struggling with too many resumes, with too many people applying and not enough people with what they're actually looking for. And so creating the relationships and going to places, whether it's chapter meetings, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars going to a conference. Volunteer at a B-sides, right? Volunteer at a lot of these conferences. Get out and make your network.
They always need volunteers.
Yes.
They always need help, and there's no better way of getting inside. It's like if you ever wanted to do golf, become a volunteer at one of the events. I've done it before. You get to actually get front row seats to U.S. Opens, etc. So that applies for everything.
Yeah, I love that. I never thought about that. I should be doing that. Formula One, actually, they do the biggest. Here, I do see the adverts looking for volunteers and for people to work. So actually, I've never even thought about that, but that's absolutely right.
Every big event is funded at the end of the day by the labor of volunteers.
Every event. One of my really good friends, Jim, he volunteered several years for, I think it was the Grammys, as a seat filler. And he was sitting next to like Beyonce, and he was like on the front, like 3 rows of the Grammys
with his monocle.
Yeah, he was like, in fact, he's also a Brit like me, but he should wear a monocle. Actually, I feel like that would really suit him. But he was like always smart, very well dressed. So they could dress them all up, they go along, and then just put you in the seats. And he sat, I think, for half of the Grammys. He got in a seat, and the person had won their award and left. So he was like in the first 3 rows and watched everything from there. So yeah, absolutely. You can volunteer. How we got to Grammys and this stuff from security is crazy.
That tells us it's about time then. It was great being back. Root to CISO, as always.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure,
Thank you, mate. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for our audience. Hopefully enjoying this. Lots of great stuff to talk about. And I'm sure we're going to get them on the full episode when we can sit down and spend an hour or probably a bit more talking about your amazing career, mate.
Thank you.
Love you, brother.
Great. Love you too, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you all.
All the best.
Thank you for listening to the Root to CISO Bite Size podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you keep an eye out for season 3 of the full Root to CISO podcast. And in the meantime, stay up to date by liking, commenting, and of course, subscribing to our channel. Thank you.